This is John for MTG Nexus coming at you with a quick deck tech for a deck that I'm going to be running through a couple matches in the Mana Traders series today. As a friendly reminder, if you do like modern content, please consider subscribing to the channel as I'm getting back into the swing of making some content here after taking a short hiatus. Once again, I won't be back to full power quite yet, but we'll be slowly working our way back up to where we were as far as content on the channel. Today we are doing some 4-color Uro Omnath. Now I'm going to give two disclaimers before I play this deck. Number one, generally not my playstyle, but is the best deck in the format. Deck you have to have some working knowledge of moving forward. Number two, this is not a full powered version of the deck. We are not playing any number of Force of Negation. The thing with that is this deck is very budget unfriendly, and even with one of the upper end renting services for Mana Traders, this is at nearly the limit of cards that I can borrow. I have maybe another 100 ticks or whatever to play with beyond what this deck's particular value is. So, you know, borrowing 3 or 4 copies of Force of Negation, just not feasible. I want to get a feel for the deck, how it feels, plays, etc. Obviously, I am playing a slightly less than ideal version, but for those of you not familiar with what this deck does, it's basically an amalgamation of Uro mid-range piles in the Omnath locus of creation that was dominating Standard before its banning, with a Feel of the Dead deck, matching that with a bunch of counterspells, form of things like Mana Leak, Remand, Cryptic Command, etc. The one thing I will say about this deck is it's extremely powerful when its mana comes together, but it's a little bit slow to get rolling and a little bit mana all over the place in some draws. So that is something to consider when you're playing this deck, is that the mana is not the best and, you know, it's a little bit slow to get rolling. One thing about this particular build is there's only 5 removal spells, and maybe that's not a big deal overall, but it can be problematic against certain matchups, you know, decks like Burn, decks like Humans, etc. You know, decks that can get, you know, go 1-drop, 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 or get under your early counter spells or early interaction, or your early interaction just doesn't phase them. Can be a little bit problematic. That said, this is one of those decks that when it sets up on turn 2, turn 3, turn 4, you know, once it gets the ball rolling with Uro or Omnath, you know, this is one of those decks that can just do kind of insane things. You know, it's a deck that cannot grind most of the other mid-range decks. It kind of puts Jund to shame, you know, but you do have that small window on turns like 1 through sometimes 3 where this deck's just kind of spinning its tires, and you can really hammer home, you know, if you're a fast combo deck or a fast aggro deck that can get under them and doesn't particularly care about Uro. Now, there are only a few decks that can do that. Burn's a deck that definitely cares about Uro a lot. The Prowess deck's not so much. You know, so this is a deck that does have some vulnerabilities, and there is a deck or two that can go over the top of it. Green Tron in particular is a deck that could potentially go over the top of this. So something to keep in mind. As far as the execution of the game plan, this is a run in 6 Teferi Time Raveler, Teferi Hero Dominaria deck. You know, you do have a lot of advantage from your Planeswalkers, a lot of advantage from Uro and Omnath. You know, you do have some light permission in the form of Cryptics, Mana Leaks, Remands. Obviously, the fully powered version plays Force of Negation. And then the rest of the power of the deck comes from its land base, mainly the card Field of the Dead, along with playing, you know, all the Triomes and stuff. You do have like a 1-of Blast Zone, a 1-of Field of Ruin. You can kind of fetch up with Hour of Promise. Hour of Promise is kind of a catch-up card, allows you to put like generally 4 or 8 power on the field across multiple bodies. It's kind of your catch-up mechanic, and then you start using your cryptic commands, leveraging that to kind of pull ahead from there. Field of the Dead is definitely a key to its strategy, although, you know, you can definitely win without Field of the Dead, or you can also definitely win without Uro. So one of the very powerful things about this deck is just multifaceted and very hard to shut down. You know, Graveyard Hate obviously can take your Uros out of the picture, but, you know, Blood Moon obviously is probably a very problematic card for this deck. You do have a lot of basics you can play around if you are conscious about it, but it does make your mana requirements of, you know, run in 6 into Uro into Cryptic Command kind of difficult sometimes. So that is something to note when you're playing the deck. And then beyond that, sideboard seems pretty straightforward. Veil of Summer for the mirror matches and for discard spell decks. Cleansing Wildfire, pretty good against Tron, which it could definitely be a problematic matchup. Tail's End, this is a card, I know Aspiring Spike's really, really high on this card, and I can see some utilities, but this just really, really awkward card sometimes, and I honestly think there are better choices that could be had in some metas, some adaptations of the deck. Ether Gust, anything green or red, there's a lot of those running around, whether it be Prowess, whether it be the mirror matches, etc. 2 copies of Wilt gives you outs to Blood Moon, as well as a card you can cycle, also any other problematic random artifact or enchantment, and 2 copies of Supreme Verdict as a potential catch-up mechanic. So, let's get into some matches, see how it goes. Alright, we're here with our first match with a variant of 4 Color Omnath Control. So, up against a Luris deck, see how this goes. I'm a little bit tired, so there might be some play mistakes, unfortunately, and besides, this isn't an archetype I usually play a ton of. This is a variant of 4 Color Uro Omnath without Force of Negations. I'm doing that because this is going to be part of an experiment later on, and I need to have a little bit wiggle room with the deck limit, which is the normal versions of this deck with Force of Negations are rapidly approaching the max that I can borrow from mana traders. So, see what our opponent has here on a mull to 5. So, looks like we might be up against, like the one card I'm not equipped to handle with this hand. Take the Remand here would be my guess. Just seems like the simplest card for them to interact with, or could mess with them the most. I mean, taking one of the Growth Spirals just doesn't really make any sense, honestly. So, they take one of the Growth Spirals. They have a second Thoughtseize here? Okay. I mean, guess that kind of makes sense, but or something, we'll probably just use it, get the other Triumph here. Alright, that's definitely a thing. Fortunately, that's probably not like till turn 5 play. Just feel like they're not going to have quite enough stuff to leverage here. It's going to put Luris in their hand, be my guess. Yep. Another hit for 1. Doesn't seem doing enough, honestly. Okay. Decisions here. So white, red. Draw a card. This does give them a window to kill it, which is kind of whatever, I guess. Sure. It's like the perfect draw. When we target themselves would make the most sense here. Yep. Take a hit for 2. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's go ahead and mana link that. Apparently they like the card. Yep. Do. This is pretty much game over. Green, blue. And then getting out of this turn, Hour of Promise is basically going to 100% guarantee things, so, you know. How do you fight through this, friend? Feels like concession time. Feels like concession time, my friend. Do you know what I know? A scourge would kinda be annoying. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Said the white man to a coming king. Do you know what I know? A child, a child. I mean, I could just set it for the kill, but this just feels much better. Sure. Feels like a lost cause, my friend. Yep. Pretty sure that locks up the game, especially in conjunction with Remand. Alright. So, probably in the market for Supreme Verdicts. Veil of Summer, maybe. Ether Gusts could be an interest, although a good bit of their threat base is black. Red 6 not the best in this style of matchup. Probably should have a Cryptic Command. So the thing with Teferi Time Raveler, like, a lot of their spells are played at sorcery speed anyway, but it does mess with some of their stuff, because only really Swift Spears usually have haste unless they're on the Bomat version, which kind of hard to say one way or the other if they are or not. Maybe Shave a Remand on the draw. Kind of go like that. Like, one of the things with this, like, particular setup is there's not a whole lot of one-man interaction with this deck. So I could easily see us just kind of getting steamrolled if they have a really fast draw. I mean, they could be on, like, Blood Moon. Maybe that's a reason to bring in something like Ether Gust as Blood Moon. It's one of the things when you're playing an archetype you're not quite familiar with, you know, sometimes the tricky stuff with sideboarding is like, okay, what am I bringing in, what am I bringing out, etc. Like, Ren is either really useful or completely useless in the matchup, because they can tack it down, not really much of a problem, and it only really kills Bomat Courier. This hand's kind of awkward. I think we gotta ship this one. This hand's fine. Probably put back one of the forests. Probably gonna get Thunk Seized on one and like it. Oop, just Soul Scar Mage. Okay. Kill your dude now. Targeting themselves, in case they have a fetch. Fetch with no threat. Interesting. Allows me to fetch either planes or whatever if we have to. Guess we'll pay attention if they... Nope. So they probably don't have... Knight's Whisper. Sure. That's mildly obnoxious. Doesn't seem like they have Blood Moon, so do I play around Blood Moon or not? I think I'll get Basic Island here just to give me a little bit of flexibility. Actually, I skewed up. I did not get a green source because this is the Jeskai land. Okay, so Shadow or Scourge. Yep. That's a pretty decent one. Probably Pathing Scourge here. Am I, though? It's actually a very interesting question. Just take the head here. See if they play any more threats post-combat. Looks like they're just putting Lurrus in hand. One, two, three, four, five, six. No, we didn't get any zombies this turn, but what you got, friendo? I think I have Scourge and Luris in hand. It's like one of the crazy things with this deck, right? Is there's so few decks outside of like Tron that can like go over the top of this deck. If you take too long to set up, you just get destroyed. Landfall. First landfall trigger, gain 4 life. Second landfall trigger, add a bunch of mana. Third landfall trigger. Okay, that's adorable. Okay, sure, whatever. Fortunately, my game plan is not dependent upon Uro. Yep. I say, please just be Scourge. Yep. Okay. Play out Omnath here. That's a little awkward.
I'll tell you that Taco Bell was closed.
I saw it. Let's get to kind of destroy them here. And then Path Luris. Don't have enough colored mana to deal with, whatever. Sure, I don't really have the mana to do it anyway, so not really a particularly big thing. Pretty sure you're just dead, friends, so yeah. Field the Dead doing Field the Dead things. Alright, and we got there, unsurprisingly. Back for our second match with Uro Omnath for color money pile, as some people refer to it as. First one was against Red Black Death Shadow, which is like a pretty reasonable matchup for this deck. Obosh. Is this hand good enough on the draw against an Obosh hand? Guess we keep and kind of hope. Get one of the Triumphs, I guess. Problem is, like I said before, this deck feels like it's a little bit vulnerable to like really fast aggro, especially game. Holy crap! I think I'm actually going to go ahead and concede for information's sake. Bring in the verdicts. Bring in the ether gusts. Down like a cryptic command. The fairies are probably kind of eh. And then run-in ticks is probably okay in the matchup, but not like super fantastic. Probably go down a remand. Could bring in like a singleton copy of Wilt for Blood Moon. Seems like a pretty reasonable play. Try it like that. Yeah, like outside of like having interaction into Uro, that was just probably I should have actually mulliganed the hand that I kept game one, but that's the thing about Hayashi's different builds is some of them just, while they are capable of grinding a very long game, they also have some insane starts like that where it's just like one drop, and get run out of the building. So, wow. Mana. Mana is an issue here. This hand seems fine. Probably put back. Keep. What am I putting back here? Might actually just be running 6. Yep, I got a Swiss Spear again. So am I more likely to Growth Spiral here or to Mana Leak? Probably Mana Leak, so I'm going to run that out. Probably grab the planes. Bing. kept a 1-lander, huh? Awkward. Okay, it has second land drop, which is mildly unfortunate. Yep, another one of those. Grab back Misty Rainforest. Let's grab Basic Forest. Cast a main phase Growth Spiral. Danger, danger, Will Robinson. Really need something good this turn. I mean, we're insulated against Blood Moon quite well. We just not really have anything else going on. Okay, both at me, sure. Yep. Well, pretty sure if our opponent has anything in hand, we're just dead here, so. Yeah, don't remotely care about Blood Moon. I mean, it's a cute card. Does turn some of my draws off. Ether Gust. Yep, just not enough. Alright. I think we saw the best of times and the worst of times here with 4-color Omnath Uro here, but be back in a bit with a wrap-up. Back for a third match with Uro Omnath. Well, I mean, we're definitely seeing the mana be an issue. I think this hand's fine. Keep back the regular island here. So I wonder if they're actually on Storm. Would be unfortunate, but not really much we can do about it. So pass here, plan on getting what, Steam Vents? Maybe a Triumph. Okay, they're actually on Storm. Okay. So Reverend Triumph or Ketria time? Probably Ketria. I mean, well, we could hold up Remand and hope that's good enough, or just advance our game plan. I think we have to try to advance our game plan. At least our opponent's thing is not misleading any way whatsoever. Yep. Not going to pretend to have Force of Negation when I clearly don't have Force of Negation. Yep. See how they split the pile. Yep, do another ritual. Apparently the answer is no. Storm doing storm things. It's just deterministic from there. Alright, so Ether Gusts seem reasonable. Tail's End, Wilt could be a consideration. Veil of Summer could be a consideration. I think one of the issues I have with like this particular build is just the severe lack of one-mana interaction. Like, we've gotten kind of punished now twice for not having one-mana interaction on one. Both in this matchup and against the mono red Obosh matchup. So, do think going forward, if I ever want to play this deck like more consistently, I would want to like increase the amount of one mana interaction available to me. What other cut? Maybe an Uro. I mean, this hand's okay. It's not like super exciting. Problem is I can't really fetch a basic immediately. So we could get like Blood Moon on one. Don't want to auto yield through the turn. Wish they hadn't gotten rid of the whatchamacallit till the end of turn. So probably get the Triumphs here. Let's get the Roger in. And do the thing. Get a fetch land back. I guess with Remand, I'm much more interested in just like fetching basic island or something here. Yeah. Let's go with basic island. Get it back. Play a little bit slower of a game here. Hold up Remand and Path. Yeah, that's fine. Not gonna fight over that. Could be dangerous to fetch here. Yep. Definitely made a mistake by fetching here. Or maybe I should have fetched before I played Omnath, perhaps. So I could try to choke them on mana, or try to choke them on Past in Flames and hope they don't have another counterspell. I think we still go with the traditional choke them on mana plan. Sure. Has some counter magic in hand, a Baral. Sure. 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 Sorry, not much concentrating, or not much commentary here. I'm kind of concentrating on trying to figure out the best way to approach this. Sure. So another hand is Counterspell, Baral, one unknown. So their hands Remand, Mystical Dispute, Baral, and like one unknown. Sure. Sure. Possible I'm supposed to be holding these lands in hand. Alright, well, at least get the win there. Should I bring in Supreme Verdict to deal with empty the Warrens? I don't think so. This so we can path, brawl. I think I just pass here. Like, as much as I want to get Ren and 6 going. Scan if they want to fire off their stupid whatever. Feels like this would be a good opportunity to resolve your stuff. But obviously you seem to disagree, so. Yep, ops whatever. Sure. Empty the Warrens. Yep. Okay. Let's get an island, I suppose. Yield through the turn. Decent chance we're dead here. Sure. Okay, I guess we start with a growth spiral. They have another bolt. We're dead anyway, so it's kind of whatever. Yep. Doesn't look like we would have drawn anything good out of it anyway, but, you know. So, anyways, be back for the wrap-up. Alright, we're back with the wrap-up here with 4 Color Uro Omnath. So, quick takeaways. Number 1, this deck's very hard to pilot. I'm not shocked at that. You know, when to tap out, when to hold up counter magic. Not a strength of mine particularly. Definitely something I have to work on playing the deck moving forward. Mana, bit of a mess sometimes. Comes together quite nicely if you have a fetch land usually. Usually like 1 fetch is pretty decent enough to get the mana fixed, although there are a number of colorless lands in the deck. Lack of interaction, it's definitely matchup dependent. You know, Bolt would be much better against the Storm deck instead of ramping them. Having more early interaction for those fast draws out of Prowess would have been nice. But at the same time, you saw against something like Black-Red, where we have a little bit more time to set up. You know, even through their disruption, we were able to kind of outgrind them. I think you saw the best and the worst of this deck in kind of a nutshell. You know, there are decks that can fight through it, and then there are decks that kind of struggle, you know, matching the pound-for-pound power of this deck. Sideboard, really don't have a lot to say about that other than, like I said in the intro, kind of the tail's end being a question mark to me as far as, you know, how powerful it is. I know Spike's been hugely impressed by the card. You know, overall, I'm trying to think counter target activated ability, triggered ability, or legendary spell. I mean, there's a lot of different corner case scenarios where this card can be quite good, but there's also a lot of situations where this card's just very niche, and I think I'd want something a little bit more effective, like, you know, another Force of Negation, another Ether Gust, you know, a niche card that, you know, is very powerful as opposed to a niche card that's, you know, situationally powerful. So, anywho, not a whole lot to say about this deck other than, you know, it's a difficult deck to pilot and something we'll have to work on moving forward. And anyways, this has been John for MTG Nexus. Hope everybody's having a great day.